Okay, can you tell me what is the portion for your examination that is upcoming?
Ma'am, this
Hmm.
chapter full and then biotechnology principles, that chapter full.
Full, whole
Full.
chapter, principles only, right?
Yes.
Okay.
No, ma'am, the full chapter and molecular
Hmm.
basis half is there and reproductive health.
For your examination, human health and diseases full, molecular basis full, reproductive health full, right?
Yes.
And what about biotechnology?
Ma'am, that also full.
Full. Okay. So the rest of the chapters are already done. This will be completed, and then we have one biotechnology chapter, right? Acha, tell me this thing. When is your exam
Ma'am, I
date?
have bio exam on 23.
23rd September.
Yes, ma'am.
23rd September. Okay. All right. See, I got your message regarding the whole entire thing about the extra class and everything. You won't be needing the extra class. Understood? It will be
We'll
completed
finish.
before. Yeah, will be completed before your examination. And your exam is on 23, right? And what
Yes,
all
ma'am.
days do you have classes with me? Today is Thursday. You
Ma'am,
have
I
it on
have Thursday
Tuesday,
and Tuesday, yes.
Thursday and Tuesday.
Ma'am, I was saying because 15th I
Only,
have
only
chemistry
15th you
and
have
then,
chemistry, no?
yes, ma'am. After that I have physics. And
Very
we
good.
have only 1 day gap in between for bio. That's why I was.
When is your physics examination?
It's on 21.
On Sunday. Acha, you people don't have any off on Sundays, right? Okay, on Sunday you have your physics examination. See, I would try to have your revision done by 22nd. If I'd have to, schedule any extra class for you, that would be for revision, but not for this thing, completion of the chapter. Understood? All right, so let's continue. So in the previous class, we had talked about allergy and we had talked about autoimmunity, which are basically the disorders of the immune system. Now today, we're going to start with the immune systems in our body. So our whole entire human immune system, it has lymphoid organs present. Understood? Lymphoid organs are present, tissues are present, and then obviously we have the antibodies made by the B cells. Now, when we talk about lymphoid organs, what are those? Lymphoid organs are the organs the origin, where the multiplication and the maturation of the lymphocytes take place. Those B and T lymphocytes, they mediate the whole entire immunity in our body, and they develop somewhere, they get, you can say, the same, matured somewhere else. So those areas where they develop or where they get mature, we'll call those areas as the lymphoid organ. Lymphoid organ are those organs that originate the lymphocytes, whether it is B lymphocytes, whether it is T lymphocytes. So there are two types of lymphoid organs. There's primary lymphoid organ and there's secondary lymphoid organs. The ones that are actively involved in the process, we call them as the primary lymphoid organs. So the organs where the immature lymphocytes, they differentiate into antigen specific lymphocytes. Understood? Antigen specific lymphocytes. What is antigen specific? We have the antibodies, isn't it? They are always synthesized against any particular antigen. Normally, they are not synthesized. So the best examples would be the bone marrow and the thymus, wherein the actual origination or proliferation of the lymphocytes take place. So when we talk about the bone marrow, it is the main lymphoid organ. If a person does not have a bone marrow, imagine the problems that person would have. Despite, like not having the proper, you can say, immune system to fight with the diseases, right? So bone marrow is the main lymphoid organ where all the blood cell means, what are the blood cells of our body?
Ma'am, RBC, WBC.
Yes, RBCs and WBCs. So the blood cells are also made in the bone marrow, as well as the lymphocytes are made in the bone marrow. Okay. Now this is the site where the B lymphocytes are made also, and they will mature also. It's the both. Now the next, when we talk about the thymus, it is the this thing. It is a lobed organ located near the heart, right beneath the breastbone. And this place, it doesn't originate the lymphocyte as such, but it is responsible for the maturation of T lymphocytes. Clear? Hmm?
Ma'am, so here it's origin. The T lymphocytes are originated in bone marrow.
T and B, both the lymphocytes are made and originated in the bone marrow, but the development of the T lymphocytes happens in the thymus. That is why their name is T lymphocyte. And B lymphocytes, they mature in the bone marrow. That is why their name is B lymphocyte. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the size, one thing with the thymus is that you might know that, this thymus, it decreases as the age increases. Meaning, with time, a person's immunity decreases. Okay. And the size of the thymus, it decreases or it reduces with age. Understood? And by puberty, it reduces to a very small size and then it becomes fixed. So a person initially is born with a decent sized thymus, but slowly it starts reducing in size. Clear?
So, ma'am, as you age, this their immunity won't be strong.
No, as such, there's no decrease in the immunity, there's decrease in the size of the thymus. Still, it will do the maturation of the T lymphocytes, it will do those things, but the size decreases. Understood? Then we talk about the secondary lymphocyte organs or secondary lymphoid organs. So the proliferation and differentiation to become effector cells after
Ma'am,
the
what
maturation.
is proliferation?
Proliferation means to divide and become more in number. It's like a fancy word for division. Understood? So proliferation and differentiation again means to, you'd say it is maturing only. Differentiation is maturation, the fancy word for maturation. You might remember it from plants case if you recall from class 11th. The plants, they differentiate and become permanent cells or permanent tissues. So
Yes.
the proliferation and differentiation to become effector cells after maturation of B and T lymphocytes. Now, these areas like the spleen, the lymph node, the tonsils, the appendix, these are your secondary lymphoid organs. Now, here you can say they'll add additional immunity to the body. Here, the B and T lymphocytes, they will not be produced as such because they are being produced in the bone marrow and the thymus is there for that. But these are those areas of the body wherein you have the boost of immunity because of them. These are the secondary lymphoid organs, not particularly involved in the B and T lymphocytes formation or maturation, but they are involved in the process of providing extra immunity. Is it clear?
Ma'am, so division and differentiation takes place here.
See, when we talk about division and differentiation, see, these are like basically these, you would say that these areas are where the B and the T lymphocytes are most active. If you think about it, whenever the B and T cells are to be synthesized in the body, they get synthesized in the bone marrow. But is it said anywhere that the fighting with the infectious things happens in the bone marrow? No. Or is it said that the fighting happens in the thymus area?
No.
No. So basically, what they do is that These areas are basically responsible for you can say the activation process, meaning they will help or they will provide extra immunity and they will activate the B and T lymphocytes to produce an immune response. Understood? So I'll add one more point over here.
Ma'am, for people who get their tonsils removed, like for tonsillitis, do I have low immunity?
Somewhat of lower than that. Because tonsils, why do people get tonsillitis? Because mostly the secondary lymphoid organs, what they do is that they trap the antigens, the infectious particles, they trap it. And so that the B and T lymphocytes can come and attack on them. So this trapping thing, like I told you, that they provide extra immunity. So what they do as far as the immune system is concerned is that they trap the pathogens and then the B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes come to attack. Understood?
So,
So as
ma'am, it has to be removed in severe cases.
if it is, becomes swollen, become inflamed and does not work anymore, like the way it is supposed to, and it is causing more harm only. Many people get stones in the tonsils also. Tonsil stones are also there. So in that case, yes, it has to be removed. Understood? Right? Then the immune cell, what are our immune cells? Meaning the B lymphocytes, B and T cells, right? So here the immune cell, B and T cells, right? These are the sites where the immune cells are activated to fight with the antigen. Clear?
Yes.
The antigen. So these, I'm writing 2 degree for secondary. Okay. So the secondary lymphoid organ, secondary lymphoid organs trap the foreign particle. It could be anything. Is it clear? So that now talking about each one of them. So spleen, it is very famously known as the graveyard of RBCs, meaning once the RBCs have completed their lifespan, it is the spleen where they get degraded. Okay. Apart from
Ma'am,
that,
where is the spleen located?
see, spleen, you can say it's like mainly located, like if you look at the lymphoid system of the body. Wait, I'll show you. I'll share that. Okay. Can you see the diagram?
Yes.
These are the whole entire, this is the pictorial representation of where the primary lymphoid organs are and where the secondary lymphoid organs are. Okay, so see, the thymus is present beneath the breastbone, right? This is where the breastbone is present, under which the lungs are present. Bone marrow is found in the middle of the bone, obviously. Then the spleen is particularly sort of tilted and situated near the liver, right? This is the liver. Then there is the
Yes.
tonsil and the adenoids. Like, see, these are the lymph nodes. Lymph nodes are present, not the tonsils, lymph nodes. Okay, and tonsils are obviously present in the area. So that is your secondary lymphoid organ. Their situation in like
Where
their
is appendix?
appendix. So it's here. No need for appendix. So now we were talking about the spleen. So what does it do? It acts like a filter, and what it does is that it traps the blood-borne microorganisms in it. Then, talking about the lymph nodes, so they are small solid structures that are located in a lymphatic system, particularly in the the large intestinal area. What it does is that, in our body, there's a lymphatic system, just like how there's a circulatory system. The tissue fluid and everything is like the fluid that is present in the lymphatic system is the lymph, which is also called as the tissue fluid. So whenever there is any kind of antigen or any kind of foreign particle present in the lymph, so that gets filtered out by the lymph node. Understood? It traps that particular, you could say, foreign particle or pathogen or antigen. Now, this one is very important. It was asked, I think, in 2019 or 2020 meeting about the MALT, that is mucosa associated lymphoid tissue. Now, this is the lymphoid tissue that is present within the lining of the major tracts like respiratory tract, digestive tract, and urinogenital tract. So basically, in the human beings, it constitutes about 50% of the lymphoid tissue. Okay, it covers a major surface area because if you think about it, respiratory tract, then there's the digestive tract, which is present in the abdominal area. Urinogenital tract present in the lower abdominal area. So those all entire areas are covered with the mucosa associated lymphoid tissue. Mucosa, you
It has
understand?
the same
Huh.
function like trapping
Yes,
microorganisms.
yes. You understand what is mucosa? Mucosa
Mucus.
is a layer, no, not mucus. Mucosa is the layer that has mucus, but mucosa doesn't mean mucus. Mucosa associated, like there are in our body, there are certain layers present, like mucosa, submucosa, like that. So this is present in the mucosal layer of our tissues. Understood? So wherever the respiratory tract, the digestive tract, and the urinogenital tract are present, they will act. Clear?
So lymphoid tissue is present in mucosal layer of tissue.
Mucosal layer or digestive tract, respiratory tract, and urinogenital. Okay, genital tract also, urino tract taken together. Understood? Okay, now after this, in your syllabus, there are two diseases that are mentioned. One is AIDS and the other is cancer. The two major diseases. Now, when you talk about AIDS, can you tell me whether it is communicable or not?
It's not communicative, but like if you use the same
Not
syringes or
communicative, communicable.
oh,
Communicative means talkative. Communicable is that something that can get from one person to another. So yes, you
it's
are right.
not
It is normally by the shaking of hands or by breathing and all those things will not have this particular disease got to another person. But talking about other bodily fluids, when you talk about the exchange of bodily fluid, then yes, it is communicable. Now, AIDS
so
stands for,
sneezing. Does it sneeze included?
since it is not a respiratory disorder, so no. Coughing, sneezing, spitting, no effects on that. But yes, blood transfusion, 100%. Sharing of needles, 100%. Having multiple sexual partners, 100%. Understood? So now the AIDS stands for acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. Now syndrome means that it is a set of symptoms that are associated with this disorder. Understood? It's like it is something that is acquired during the lifetime of a person. Not necessarily you will know why. Then it is immunodeficiency, meaning a person becomes very, very immunodeficient. meaning the immune system gets severely compromised, which leads to the production of a lot of symptoms. Clear?
Ma'am,
Hmm.
syndrome is like acquired during lifetime. Syndrome.
No, syndrome means set of symptoms. Syndrome means a set of symptoms, various kinds of symptoms. Now, the AIDS disease is caused by the human immunovirus, that is HIV. This virus is a retrovirus. Can you tell me what are retroviruses? See,
I don't know.
retroviruses are those viruses that have the genome of RNA. Like how our genome is DNA, meaning our main genetic material is DNA. But when you talk about the RNA, so in the case of okay, now go. So when we talk about the human immunovirus, they are retroviruses. Retroviruses meaning their main genome has RNA present in it. But despite the presence of RNA, they can make DNA. Do you remember central dogma of molecular biology?
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm.
It's
Do you remember how
trans.
normally it's not possible to make RNA from DNA, isn't it? When we talk about central dogma, there's always a unidirectional flow wherein from DNA, RNA is made, from RNA, protein is made. But these are those the same groups of viruses that have the enzyme associated with them, which helps them to create DNA from RNA. Can you quickly name that enzyme? You have already studied.
And can you repeat the question?
Itna lamba question I asked. See, I said that making RNA from making RNA from DNA is possible, right? But making
Yes.
DNA from RNA is not possible. But these viruses, they have that capability to do so. Can you name the enzyme with which they can synthesize DNA from RNA?
Reverse transcriptase.
Hmm. Reverse transcriptase. So these are the viruses that have that enzyme in them. That is why we call them as retroviruses. Now, AIDS was first reported in the year 1981. Now, when we talk about these viruses, they have an envelope which encloses RNA. And always remember the genome of the virus. Genome means the total content of the genetic material in them is RNA. Just like how our genome is purely DNA, but their genome is purely RNA. Clear? Now they have this capability wherein they can synthesize DNA from RNA. And that is what gives them that pathogenic property. Now let us study how this disease happens. So the retrovirus that has a viral RNA code, meaning their genome has RNA in it. What happens is that the virus comes and it affects the animal cell. Okay. Now, once it affects the animal cell, if you remember this thing, what was that experiment's name? The one that was done with bacteriophages and bacteria for the search of genetic
Uh,
material. Remember centrifugation, blending, and all those steps were there. So during
yes,
that,
ma'am.
what usually happens when the bacteriophage sits on the bacteria, it releases its genetic material into it, not the whole entire
Yes.
like the protein content and stuff. So when we talk about this retrovirus, also it releases the viral RNA into the cell of the animal, particularly human. Now, this viral RNA utilizes the reverse transcriptase enzyme and makes the viral DNA. Now, this viral DNA, it gets incorporated into the genome of the host. Incorporation means like this is the genome of the host, this is the viral RNA, viral DNA. It gets mixed with it, and then the human genome and the viral genome, which is DNA. So human DNA, viral DNA gets mixed, and now what happens is that the human genome starts producing the viral RNA. Clear? And
Can you
then
go through it once again?
what happens is that when the virus like basically infects the animal cell, so what happens is that virus sends the viral RNA. Viral RNA means RNA of virus. It sends it into the animal cell. This viral RNA, it basically synthesizes viral DNA with the help of enzyme reverse transcriptase. Human has DNA as the genetic material. Okay, that is why they are synthesizing DNA so that the human cell will not recognize it as something extra. Understood? And then what happens is that this particular viral DNA is going to get incorporated into the host's genome. Understood?
So
Incorporation in
before incorporation,
hmm,
it the viral, I mean the RNA is just producing viral DNA by transcription.
because viral RNA can't get incorporated into DNA because RNA and DNA have different properties, right? But when we talk about the viral DNA, so what DNA is synthesized? Now this DNA will sort of get mixed with the DNA of the host, meaning our DNA. Understood? And then
So ma'am, what happens to viral RNA that got introduced?
RNA got changed into DNA, na? Like that
Yes.
RNA, it's like it made basically the DNA, the viral DNA with the help of the enzyme. Understood? And then what happens is that this particular viral DNA, they blend with the host genome. Understood? And after that, what happens? Then, now it makes the host cell synthesize viral particles. Like the host cell is now, made in such a way to like synthesize more and more host particle only. Instead of synthesizing its own particles, its own proteins, its own RNA and stuff, instead of doing that, because the cell is getting infected, so now the cell is, instead of making its own DNA and own material, it's synthesizing the material for RNA. So it basically it makes our cell act like an HIV factory. It keeps on synthesizing more and more viral RNA. Understood? That's how the cell gets infected. Clear?
Ma'am, so human DNA, what role has human DNA played in this? Just production?
Human DNA is present in humans or animals, right? That human DNA is present in human. This particular pathogen is infecting the human. So obviously the human cell is going to be there and human cell will have the human genome. The role that the human genome is playing over here is that the human genome is synthesizing viral RNA because it got infected with it. Understood? Hmm?
So, ma'am, the viral DNA does not affect the fact that it's mixed with normal DNA.
No, because the immune system is not able to recognize that because it is DNA of humans and it makes it very simple like human DNA. So the like basically the immune system doesn't recognize that initially. And then the human cell starts preparing more and more viral particles. Thereby the number of viral particles increases a lot. Okay, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So see, initially, first of all, these now they are half said animal cell. Now, which cell do these viral particles attack initially? So the first attack is done on the macrophages. Okay, so it goes to the macrophage and it starts creating more and more, like it makes the macrophage create viral particles. Secondly, it goes to the helper T cells. Okay, it goes to the helper T cells and does the same thing with the helper T cell also. Now, since the helper T cells are also synthesizing viral particles, macrophages are also synthesizing the viral particles. So ultimately, what happens is that the the cells that were supposed to provide immunity, that were supposed to fight me, now they are helping the virus to make those viral particles. Getting my
Because they
point?
don't recognize it.
Yes. And Then more and more progeny viruses and more progeny viruses are produced, and then the T lymphocytes are attacked by this particular virus. It attacks the T lymphocytes. What is the function of T lymphocytes? T lymphocytes stimulate the B lymphocytes to produce antibodies, right? Now, if the T lymphocytes are not there, there will be no one to stimulate the B lymphocytes to produce antibody, and thereby the immune response of the body will become very, very weak, right? So, instead of attacking any particular organ, instead of attacking any particular region of the body, it attacks the T lymphocytes, which ultimately makes the immune system so you can say weak that now the person is not able to fight with any disease because the immune
Not
system
even
is
a
compromised.
common cold or anything.
Nothing. And you know, the people that have AIDS, they don't die of AIDS, they die of other diseases.
Because
And
of
those diseases,
compromise.
and those diseases or those pathogens that cause those diseases, we call them as the opportunistic diseases. Understood? Hmm? Is it clear up until now?
Yes, ma'am, it's clear.
Now, during this time, when the T lymphocytes are being attacked, during that point of time, what happens is that the immune system, like when the immune system is getting compromised during that process, the person starts to suffer from fever, weight loss. These symptoms are shown. But again, no one would think that they have AIDS if these symptoms would come along. And you know what's the worst thing? The worst thing is that, let's just say, at time T, infection happens from this HIV. The symptoms that, like, obviously, whenever we go to the doctor, when do we go to a doctor to get anything checked? When we start showing symptoms, isn't it? When we have fever, when we have whatever, XYZ. So, like, for example, at time T, the person got infected. Now, the person will show the symptoms after 10 years. Imagine 10 years post the infection, then the first symptoms would appear. And by that time, the virus, imagine in 10 years, how much the virus would replicate and replicate and replicate, and the whole body will be, sort of uh, filled with the virus. And imagine how compromised the immune system would become, isn't it? So, by that time, the viruses would have spread a lot in the human's body. Clear? Now,
So, ma'am, during these 10 years, it won't even show a little bit of symptom. Like,
nothing, none whatsoever.
so, ma'am, during these 10 years, if you get like sick,
Hmm.
will you have recovery as fast as before?
Definitely. And like many a times, like for example, during this course of time, a person's immune system has been compromised. Now, if during that time a person, let's just say, gets typhoid or any kind of other disease, now that person will go and get checked for typhoid. Would that person think that I should get tested for AIDS? No, they will not. And then that typhoid or that cholera or whatever will be the reason the person gets killed. And the main culprit will not be known. Imagine it is one of the, you can say, the sleaziest pathogen ever. No pathogen is as smart as viruses are. None. That, remember how long it took for the COVID to go and how fast it spread around the whole entire globe, particularly shutting down everything. So viruses are very smart, very, very smart and very quick. Okay, talking about how
Ma'am,
the AIDS,
like,
yeah,
how do you encounter this HIV virus? Where is it present?
where is it present?
Like,
It spreads from person to person. Initially, this virus, it was reported back in when it was reported in this year, 1981. The first case of this thing, acquired immunodeficiency, it was from a homosexual couple, meaning two males, like that. It was developed or reported from there in the first. Understood.
ma'am,
It developed from
is
there.
it spread from like other diseases and viruses like contamination or all that?
No. Talking about
This
now, see how the transmission happens. Transmission of HIV happens first way, then by having a sexual contact with the infected person. Now, whoever has AIDS, no one knows by just looking at the person that they have AIDS. Now, this mostly occurs in those people that have this habit of having multiple sexual partners, that is polygamy, right? So they have this phenomena, or they have this habit of polygamy, wherein, like, let's just say a person has sexual contacts with 10 people. Amongst those 10 people, if one of them, even one of them, is infected with AIDS, the person will get understood. Second, by the transfusion of contaminated blood. Now, let's just say a person is innocent, does not have sexual contact with 10, 20 people, but goes to the wrong hospital to get blood transfusion done. Now, this hospital is a cheap shot hospital. They don't check their blood and they don't monitor their blood and stuff. And maybe some person came, they have AIDS. Now, they thought to do a good deed, they donated blood. Their blood did not get checked. Now, their good deed became someone's death sentence. So now, if this person gets transfused with the infected blood, now imagine the whole entire bloodstream of the body has the virus. So that is the case. Third, by sharing infected needles in the case of intravenous drug abuse. Intravenous means via veins. You might have seen in television shows how people take injection and I don't know where, here or somewhere they inject themselves with the drugs, right? I don't know where they do it, but they do it, right? So with the help of injection. Now, those are drug abusers. Do you think they will be so concerned about hygiene? Like, oh no, don't use my needle, use your own needle. Obviously not. So everyone shares that one common needle. Now maybe five people are there share abusing drugs. Now one of them has AIDS. If the needle used by that person is used by another healthy person, now the virus is sent to the body. And the worst one is when
if no
huh,
one has AIDS, then they all will be fine.
they always be fine, but they can have other blood-borne diseases also. There's not just AIDS. There's many more.
Like, what about like different blood groups? Does that affect the needle and all?
Huh, that would affect. I mean, getting a tiny bit of trace of other bloods into the body. That is okay. That can also occur. But that is not something that will be, it's not replacing the whole entire body. Maybe one or few drops that might drop a tiny droplet. The worst one in the case of transmission is if the HIV infected female gets pregnant. Mostly, those couples they terminate their pregnancy because they know that the HIV virus could even travel through the placenta and reach the child. The child could have, that the child could be born with AIDS. Always remember that the HIV it spreads via body fluids only, nothing else. Then, talking about this side, remember the diagnostic test for typhoid was vital. Same way, the diagnostic test used for AIDS is ELISA, that is enzyme linked immunosorbent assay. This is the full form. This is important. Okay, so this is the test for it. There is no cure for AIDS, none. And the onset or showing or appearance of the symptoms of AIDS, it takes place after 5 to 10 years. Okay, that's when a person starts showing symptoms. 1st December is celebrated as the World AIDS Day or World, like, to spread awareness about AIDS. And it is done by NACO, that is National AIDS Control Organization. Very, very important.
Um,
Very
so, ma'am, what precautions should a person with AIDS take?
important. The only
Like,
precaution they can do is to stay away from healthy people. That's what they can do. And the thing is that since this particular disease has no cure, there are preventative measures. Like whatever symptoms they are facing, those symptoms can be treated, but AIDS cannot be treated. It is a fatal disease with no cure. So,
ma'am, so if someone has AIDS and they didn't get sick, like they didn't get sick at all, so they
that's
won't
not
die.
possible. It's not possible. on an everyday basis, every single human being faces 10,000 and even more than that pathogen. It's because our immunity is strong. That is why we don't get sick every day. But during those times when our immunity is weak, maybe because we've not been paying attention enough, we've not been, taking a lot of vitamins and stuff, then that's the time when we get the disease. Understood? So the pathogens, they enter our body every time. Clear? Shall I move on to the next disease now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the next is cancer. The cancer is one of the most feared disease in the world. It is a non-communicable disease. It will not spread to anyone. But the person that has it, all around 11 lakh people are affected every year. That too just in India. Worldwide, 10 million people succumb to this disease every year. Now, basically, in this type of disease, what happens now, I'll tell you in a very basic manner that in our body, the cells are always dividing to replace the old cells, to make the new cells. The cells are always dividing. For example, I have this. See, uh, for example, this so nice and great. Okay, see, for example, these are the cells that are already there in the body. Okay, now this was the cell that divided and made two cells. Okay, further, this will make two cells. This is how division happens. Mitosis happens in this way. But now, when the cells have divided, and as soon as it comes in contact with another cell, like this is one cell, this is a new cell, when it gets touched like this, at that point of time, the cell division will stop. It will not divide more in that area. Now, the other cell of other area will divide. This property of a normal cell is called as contact inhibition. As soon as it will come in contact with another cell, the division would stop. Understood? This property of contact inhibition is not found in cancerous cells. Meaning, as soon as it will come in contact with another cell, it will keep on dividing, keep on dividing, keep on dividing, keep on dividing. And like, it will divide and divide and divide. There's no stop to it. And thereby, imagine in that one area, several cells are being added, 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 and it keeps on getting added. Have you seen tumors in people? Have you seen people with brain tumors? See, some tumors are there that will be huge, and some will be so huge that they bulge out of the body. Meaning the skin will cover them. Obviously, it will not come out of the skin, but this like the thing will become this big, this big, this big. It will become huge. So the mass of cell that is formed as a result of uncontrolled division is what we call as tumor. Okay, so every cancer begins with a tumor. Tumor means a mass of cell because the cell division did not stop in that area. Clear?
Yes.
Now this tumor is of two types, benign and malignant. So benign tumors are those, for example, if in this particular area the tumor formed, it will stay in this. These tumors, like if they are detected, they can be operated out of the body and that's it. No harm, nothing, the person survives. Nothing happens. Okay? So these tumors, they are localized at a particular location and it does not spread to any other body part. They can be
Ma'am, so the
surgically taken out.
tumor does not have like liquid in it. It has our mass.
Cells. Cells and cells and cells and cells. Like a very, ugly looking bunch of cells all together in one place. But many a times, if the tumor occurs, like even benign tumor, if it occurs in those areas which is basically inoperable, like, right in the middle of the brain or right in the middle of the spine, then it can become fatal. A person can die because it will never get operated out. But mostly, if let's just say the operation took place successfully, the tumor or the mass of cell will be taken out of the body surgically and it will not appear again. Clear?
Yes,
Now,
ma'am.
second kind of tumor is malignant tumor, the worst kind. These are the tumors that if they grow to one area, now when this tumor is there and new cells are here, now when this tumor will touch the new cells, it will make these cells tumor. It will spread like that from one cell to another and it will spread out a lot. This property, wherein the tumor grows very quick and spread to the normal cells of the body, we call it as metastasis. The property of the spreading is called as metastasis, and it is the most feared property of the tumor. And
Ma'am,
this
so
hmm,
uh, unusual gain weight is observed in this.
unusual
Weight, like gain of weight.
weight gain. No, tumor is not that heavy. Tumor is not that heavy. In terms of cells, it is small. Like normally when you will see it, it's small. But in terms of our body, it becomes very big. But it doesn't add to the weight.
Ma'am, so does it swell the whole body?
Hmm?
Is the whole body swollen?
No, no. There are multiple types of tumors. There are some in which the area wherever they are developed, that area swells up a lot. Whole entire body, depending upon where it has spread. If the tumor spreads to the bones, then it is a different thing. Then the bone doesn't spread, isn't it? If the tumor spreads in the blood, then obviously why would the person become fat? So tumor means excessively, clusters or clumps of cells everywhere, which hampers with the normal bodily functions. Clear? So that's the case. That's the case of malignant tumor. Any doubts?
Ma'am, how
Hmm.
is malignant tumor dangerous if
Yeah? How is it
ma'am how
not dangerous? You only tell me. How is it not dangerous?
ma'am if you look normal.
It's not about looking now. Imagine if it's like if it's anywhere, the normal body functioning is hampered. The person will not be able to do the normal bodily functions. So malignant tumor is the worst. This is why lakhs and lakhs people die because they spread so much in the body that it becomes very difficult to operate them out. For example, if there's any particular part, like many people, if they get bone cancers, they'd have to have their bones amputated. Imagine the bones would have to be chopped off from the body to stop the spread of the tumor. That is why there are many people with that are amputee. Okay, their like hands are chopped off, their legs are chopped off. I had one neighbor, I think approximately 7 to 8 years ago. I had a neighbor. He had the tumor in his eye, okay, which he got surgically treated. But then he got the tumor again in that area. That was a malignant tumor. He had to have his eye removed, imagine, so as to stop the tumor from spreading to other parts of the body. So malignant tumors are extremely dangerous, and this is why people die mostly. So cancer cause now how is cancer caused? This is the question. To be very honest, the exact pinpoint reason is not known because this is not a pathogen based disease. It's not because of any pathogen. This is an error in the cell division. Imagine at the cellular level, we are organ system people. I mean organisms. Then organ, tissue. It's like the error in the cellular level. So cancer causing agents, see many a times is caused because of certain agents called as carcinogens. Okay, so they can be physical, they can be chemical, and they can be biological. So physical factors, meaning rays, various kind of rays, such as X-ray, gamma rays, UV rays, these can cause physical, like these are the physical carcinogens which can cause cancer. That is why, have you ever had X-ray done? Have you seen X-ray being done for any people, any person?
Yes, yes.
Have you seen that when any person is prescribed with an X-ray, so the person is like the person who is along with that person, they wear a vest, like a protective vest.
Yes.
Why? So as to guard off the X-ray from the body. X-rays are very, very harmful. They are carcinogenic.
Some sort of gel is applied right to the
Gel.
skin.
So
Gel.
that is this thing, sonography. That is different. It is ultrasound, not X-ray. Then gamma rays, lethal. They are very much carcinogenic. And UV rays. Where do we get UV rays from?
Sunlight.
Sunlight. You know, it's like uh, the like once you are exposed to the sunlight, after a while you get tan, right? Some people get tan, some people get skin burns. Why? Because that's some sort of mutation that the UV rays is causing in the skin, making the skin produce excessive pigment. That is melanin. That is why we get tan. Second, chemical factors such as tobacco and smoke. These are the chemical carcinogens that can cause cancer, that can cause this uncontrolled cell division. Then, biological factors. See, in our bodies, in everyone's body, in humans, there are proto-oncogenes present. Oncogenes meaning cancer genes are there in our body. Imagine, all of us are born with cancer genes, but those cancer genes are inactivated. They are never activated in our body. But under the influence of carcinogens, they can get activated and cause cancer. Clear? Hmm?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, diagnosis of cancer. The detection and diagnosis of cancer, they are very important before it spreads to the other parts of the body. Now, what are the various methods to detect cancer? So first is biopsy. Biopsy is when any piece of tissue is surgically taken out and tested for cancer, whether it has uncontrolled, like it is seen under the microscope, whether it has uncontrolled division happening or not. Second is radiography. X-rays, like even though they are carcinogenic, but they are used for the detection also, because that shows you the image of the bones and stuff. Then there's CT scan, which is the which stands for computed tomography. This is important. This whole thing is important, very important. So CT scan stands for computed tomography, which creates a 3D image of the internal organs. And then there's MRI, which is magnetic resource imaging. So this uses strong magnetic field to detect any kind of abnormality in the living tissues. Okay. And then there are also molecular biology techniques that are associated with the detection of cancer. Now the thing comes along, how does a person treat the cancer? It's not that the cancer is untreatable. It is treatable when it is caught at the right time. When it is caught at an early stage, then yes, it is
Ma'am,
100% treatable.
the cancer, uh, is it like a body full of tumors?
Any region that has tumor, body full of tumor, one tumor in one area, it can be of various types. If there's one tumor in one area, it is easy to treat that person. If the body is full
How?
of tumor, uh,
I don't understand how is it causing death.
how is it causing death?
Ma'am, it's just body full of tumors, ma'am.
So, only when it will come out, then it will cause death. Imagine there's something interfering with your normal bodily functions. Imagine it is depriving your healthy cells of their life and making them cancer, just mass of cells. It makes other cells, like normal cell division doesn't happen in your body anymore. Not in yours, I mean in general, doesn't happen. So obviously it is hampering with the whole entire body physiology. If
Ma'am,
a
why
person,
do they lose hair in cancer?
people don't lose hair because of cancer, they lose hair because of the treatment that is used in cancer. So what happens is that first treatment is surgery, operation, wherein the mostly done for benign tumors which can be surgically removed. You know, one more thing. If a person has malignant tumor, and let's just say the doctor has agreed to take it out. Normally, doctors don't agree to operate on those people that have malignant tumor. Why? Because you know, if this is the scalpel, if one touch of the scalpel is there on the tumor, it will spread even faster.
Ma'am, what is skin?
Scalpel, this the thing that the operators use, the doctors use to cut the knife, the medical knife.
Yes, ma'am.
Understood. So, surgically removing the cancerous mass is surgery, then radiotherapy. Radiotherapy, wherein radiations are used to kill the cancer cells. And the third one is chemotherapy, wherein therapeutic drugs are given via the blood to kill the cancer. Now, see, if you're like giving someone any drug via blood, then that drug is traveling through all the cells and every part of the body. So it will have its effect on every part of the body other than directly acting at the cancer cells. That's why people suffer from hair loss, they suffer from appetite and weight loss and nausea also. Because it is attacking at the follicles of the hairs also. So the eyelashes are also gone, the eyebrows are also gone, the hairs are also. Now, one such thing is interferons. You remember the virus infected cells, they secrete interferons, which was a cellular barrier. Remember?
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm.
That protect.
So they protect the healthy cells from being affected. Right. So if a person is injected with interferons, then maybe it would provide some sort of protection, but again, not 100%. Clear? Any doubts?
Mm, no.
Wait, I want to show you. And how a particular this thing, image, if it's there, which I will find that image and then I'll show you how a cancerous body and a normal body looks like. Okay, I have one picture. Anyway,
Ma'am, cancer can happen to anyone.
any of any age, regardless. Okay, can happen to anyone. Okay, now coming on to the next part of this chapter, that is drugs and alcohol abuse. So, what is this chapter mainly because of? Like, mainly like talking about this topic. Drugs are those chemicals that are basically medicines only, some sort. Okay, these are the chemicals that are more often prescribed by a doctor to us, right? But when a person starts to use anything much more than it is supposed to be used, right? Then that is called as the abuse of anything, whether it is alcohol, whether it is drug, or whether it is anything in general. So addiction is the attachment to the psychological effects of any substance. For example, the consumption of drugs and alcohol gives a temporary feeling of euphoria. Euphoria is basically the sense of happiness. Okay. Now, you might have seen that whenever you might have seen in television shows or movies that whenever people get very sad, they undergo any kind of heartbreak, they start drinking, isn't it? And sometimes even when their heart gets broken so much, they start doing drugs. They go crazy. So why does a person depend on these things? They do so because as they take them, it hampers with their central nervous system. It makes them feel that everything is okay. So people get attached to these things, these chemicals, these drugs, and they start consuming it on a regular basis, even when it is not required, right? And with every use, the body's tolerance become, you can say, more and more. Like for example, a person took, let's just say, how do I explain? Like in terms of alcohol, I'm explaining it. If a person took 1 glass of alcohol, now, next time, the person's body, that 1 glass will not do anything. Now, the person has to take 2 glasses to produce that effect. Next time, three. Next time, four. Like that, it increases. Understood? Is it clear? So, that is
Ma'am,
how. Huh.
then why do they act drunk after like taking these substances? What causes them?
See, these are those chemicals that, hamper with the central nervous system, meaning the brain, particularly the brain. It makes the like the how in our body the action potentials, the signals are transported with the help of neurotransmitters, right? Acetylcholine, dopamine, various neurotransmitters are there. Now what these drugs and the chemical compounds found in them, they do is that they start hampering with the transmission of impulses. Now, whenever you have to walk, your brain sends the signal to your muscles that you have to walk, right? And then you can do so. Then, whenever you have to walk, you normally walk straight because you are concentrated on walking. Now, when that signal is hampered, the signal is not properly reaching your muscles, then obviously the person will walk wonky, right? They'll have disbalance and all that. So that is why it hampers with the normal, like the bodily nervous system that is there. Understood? So now talking the first part, we'll talk about the drugs. So the commonly abused drugs that are there are opioids, there's cannabinoids, there's coca alkaloid. Okay, three types of drugs are there which are commonly abused. Now, the craziest thing, two crazy things are there. One crazy thing is that these drugs they mostly obtain from flowers, plants. Okay. Second, in our body we have receptors for them. Imagine we have receptors for them. Our body, our nervous system has receptors for these drugs. Meaning, why do we have receptors? For example, you heard about morphine?
Yes, ma'am. Mm.
Morphine is a painkiller, right? So whenever we have excruciating pain, we get prescribed with a painkiller, and then obviously the painkiller has to go to that area where there's a receptor. It will bind to it and produce the effect and lower down your pain, right? So we have the receptors in our body for the drugs. It's a normal, but it's crazy. Now, let us see how the drugs are obtained. So, majority of the drugs, they are obtained from the flowering plants. Okay, those plants, the flowering plants, meaning angiosperms. And some of them are also obtained from the fungus. Opioids, these are the drugs that bind to the opioid receptor that is present in our central nervous system, and it is present in the GI tract as well, the gastrointestinal tract. Heroin is one such example of the opioid. It is commonly called as MAC in like normal, lingual terms. And chemically, it is diacetyl morphine. Okay, when the morphine undergoes diacetylation, the heroin is formed. In terms of the looks, how does it look like? It is a white. It is an odorless, bitter, crystalline compound. Okay, just like how sugar is a crystalline thing, same way the heroin is also a crystalline compound. And how is it obtained? It is obtained when the acetylation of the morphine is done, right? Because it is diacetyl morphine. Okay. Now, the most important part that you have to remember is that from where is it extracted? We have understood the fact that they come from plant parts, right? Various plant parts. The thing is that where are they extracted from? So this particular heroin, it is extracted from the latex. Latex, the sticky substance that comes from the plant. It is extracted from the latex of the poppy plant, the scientific name for which is Papaver somnifer. Now, always remember whenever you're writing things that has any scientific name mentioned in it, you're supposed to underline it. Like I have not underlined it over here. Can you tell me why? I have not underlined Papaver somnifer. Why?
Ma'am, species is not there.
Papaver is genus, somniferum is species. Then why haven't I underlined it? It is a scientific name. Because first thing is that whenever writing a scientific name, huh, if you are writing it with your hand, then you're supposed to underline it. When I am typing it, then I am supposed to write it in italics. Do you see how it is tilted a bit? The other words are not, but this is tilted.
Yes, ma'am.
So always remember when you write it with hand, you have to underline it separately. This it is. So how is this drug taken? It is taken by snorting. Snorting means sniffing. People like put it near the nose and sniff it. It is also taken by injection. And it is like what does it do? It is a depressant and it slows down the body functions. So whenever a person has that feeling that okay, too much is going on in my surrounding, I need to shut it out, they take the drug and shut down whatever the reality is.
Ma'am,
Hmm.
the latex is when you break the stem, that
Yes.
substance. So, ma'am,
Second,
if you consume just the flower like that, nothing would happen, right?
or
If you like just consume the sticky white part by
it's not
breaking the flower.
it's not for consumption. It's not for human consumption. Why
Ma'am,
would
you
you go
can't.
and consume latex? Why would you go there? It's not for consumption. No? That's why. Now, cannabinoids, that are the second group of chemicals. Now, these interact with the cannabinoid receptors that are present in our brain. Where is it extracted from or obtained from? So, it is obtained from the inflorescence of the plant. What is inflorescence? Like the group of flowers. So, it is extracted from the inflorescence of the plant, that is cannabis sativa. The flower tops, the leaves, and the resin of the cannabis plant, they are also used in various combinations to produce different types of cannabinoids, such as marijuana, hashish, charas, and ganja. These are the various names of different cannabinoids. Generally, it is taken by inhalation against snorting. People also take it by oral ingestion, like by eating or I don't know. And then they are known to cause effect on the cardiovascular system of the body. What they do is that they increase the heartbeat. When your heartbeat increases, the supply of oxygen to the body also increases. So many a times, this cannabinoid is abused by sports persons so that their input, their this thing, what do you call it? Their athletic output is increased. Because if they have more oxygen supplied to their organs, they can run better. They'll not get tired easily. Understood? It's not a good thing, obviously, but this is what they are used for. Then we have coca alkaloids, which are also called as cocaine. So they are obtained from the coca plant named as Erythroxylum coca, which is a native to South America. It interferes with the transport of neurotransmitter, that is dopamine. Remember, I told you how one information is sent to another and throughout the body with the help of the neurotransmitters. So here, the neurotransmitter, that is dopamine, that is getting hampered. Cocaine is commonly called as coke or crack, is usually snorted. And it is a potent stimulating action on the central nervous system that produces a sense of euphoria, meaning sense of well-being, and it increases the energy. And excessive, if a person has excessive dosage, then a person will start having hallucinations. They'll start seeing things that are not even there. Now, this was the major classes of drugs that are abused usually. Then next is, see, there are some drugs that have hallucinogenic property. Okay, some people get high using hallucinogens so that they start seeing stuff that is not there. So the drugs and basically the plants such as atropa, belladonna, and drugs like barbiturates, amphetamines, benzodiazepines, then lysergic acid diethylamides. These are the drugs that usually is used for those people that have mental illnesses, that have depression. Okay, those people are given these medicines. But when it is used in
Ma'am,
much
it
more,
causes hallucination.
no, it doesn't cause, see, it is that plants with hallucinogenic property is Atropa belladonna. Okay. Second, there are several drugs that are used, that are similar and they are used normally as medicines. Like drugs are always in milligrams, micrograms, like that, tiny traces are there. So it is done basically to cope people with the mental disorders like depression, insomnia, and all that. Morphine,
Ma'am, do they have hallucinogenic properties?
when taken in the right amount, prescribed by the doctor, it's not producing any kind of hallucinogenic activity. But when it is used much more than it is required, then it will produce. Morphine, it is a sedative. Okay, it calms down the muscles. It is a painkiller, and mostly it is like very famously used for the people that have undergone surgery, major surgery, like any kind of surgery. People are prescribed with morphine, but a limited amount for a limited days. After that, they are to be bearing the pain and not having this drug a lot, because the body can used to get used to. Understood? And if the body gets used to it, then the person would start having more and more. Now, several plants, fruits, and seeds having hallucinogenic property, they have been used for hundreds of years in the folk medicine, religious ceremonies, and rituals all over the globe. But when these are taken for purpose other than the medicinal use, or in the amount much more than it is required, then that is called as a drug abuse. It would impair the physical means the normal bodily function, physiological internal functions, and psychological, the brain related functions. So when the drugs start impairing that, then that constitutes drug abuse. Okay, so these are the pictures that are given in NCERT, the chemical structure of morphine. You don't have to learn it as such, but just have a look at it and understand what it is. Because in exam, they can ask you, what is this? So you know that this is morphine. Or they can ask you, what does this drug do? What is it used for? What does it cause? So you should know that it is morphine and it does all this. That is your opium poppy plant. Then this is the structure of cannabinoid. Then that is cannabis sativa zoomies. And then this is your erythroxylum. Oh, sorry, this is datura, flowering branch of datura. Okay. So these pictures you must keep in mind. They'll not ask you to draw. They'll not ask you to learn the chemical formula, but they can give you as a picture question. Like what does it do? What is the function? Okay. Now tobacco, smoke. So when we talk about tobacco, so this has been used by human beings for more than 400 years, and it is smoked. Like people have it in cigarettes, people chew it, people sniff it, those things, right? And the tobacco contains nicotine, which is an alkaloid. Okay. And you know, alkaloids are abused as drugs. Now, nicotine, what does it do? Like, why do people use this? It stimulates the adrenal gland to release adrenaline and noradrenaline hormones into the blood, which increases the blood pressure, it increases the heart rate, a person starts feeling alert. You know, smoking is associated with increased incidence of cancers of the lung, urinary bladder, throat, then bronchitis, emphysema, coronary heart disease, gastric. Imagine so many diseases comes with it. Tobacco chewing has a great risk of oral cancer. Smoking increases the carbon monoxide in the body, because a person is having that smoke, taking that smoke only in the body. You know, they are inhaling the smoke. So in the body, carbon monoxide increases. And you know that this thing, hemoglobin, hemoglobin has affinities for three gases. It has affinity for oxygen, it has affinity for carbon dioxide, and it has affinity for CO. So whenever the CO increases in the blood or increases in the body, the hemoglobin, instead of binding with the oxygen and making HbO2 and transporting oxygen everywhere, the hemoglobin will bind with CO and make the HbCO, which is carboxyhemoglobin. And then carbon monoxide, meaning oxygen deficiency, is going to be there throughout the body. So this causes oxygen deficiency in the body. When one buys the packets of cigarette, one cannot miss the statutory warning that is present on the packaging, which warns against the smoking, how it is injurious to health and everything.
Ma'am,
But
is passive smoking more injurious?
yes, it
Like
is.
the smoke.
Why? Because the people that do active smoking, they're getting the smoke after being filtered. There's a filter in that smoke and stuff. Some sort of filter is kept, a paper or whatever. So they're getting the filtered smoke. But the people that are, you know, just like that, beside that person, and they are inhaling the smoke that is released as the burning. Now that smoke is released because of the carbon, like the when the burning is done, CO2 is released in the, like after gases, and carbon monoxide is there. That carbon monoxide is directly going into the person's body. That is not even smoke. Understood? Clear? So with this, basically the main topics of the chapter are complete. This human health chapter is complete. Now in the NCERT, there is this whole passage about how a person should avoid these things, how a person should avoid peer pressure, not get influenced by, trial and experiment, then only a person gets caught up with this problem of abusing drugs and alcohol and everything. Now, when we talk about alcohol abuse, there are a few things related to that. Basically, when we talk about the alcohol abuse, so this directly causes liver cancer. Okay, because it hampers with the liver, it also, the name is cirrhosis. This causes basically the hardening of the liver. Understood? Now let me see what all parts are there in your. That's the drugs, smoking them. Okay. One thing. Like, see, for people that have the addiction to any kind of drugs, you might have heard about rehabilitation centers. You heard about them?
Yes.
Those are the de-addiction centers. People are sent to those centers wherein they get treated for this disease. Now, what happens is that drug addiction is not just drug addiction. There is a lot of things that are associated alongside. What all things? See, basically, when we talk about the drug addiction, so if a person has had developed that drug addiction problem, now they will always require the drug to feel better. Now, what happens is
Yes.
that they'll start to, like roam around to find people that, are drug sellers or dealers. And these things are very expensive because people know, the persons that deal with drugs, they know the dependence that these abusers have on the drugs. Like, they'll get crazy if they'll not get the drug. Okay, so obviously they ask for a lot of money for that. Now these people that want the drug, they'd have to have many money, a lot of money with them. So they'll start stealing, they'll start robbing places so that they can have a lot of money. And like what they do is, like, for example, if they don't have the money, the drug dealers, they basically give a tiny amount because they know that that tiny amount will not work for them, because their tolerance to that drug has increased a lot. They need more dosage, they need a higher dosage for that. Understood? Now, basically, when any person has any kind of addiction, they are mostly sent to the rehabilitation centers for help so that they can get de-addicted. Now, there's a phenomena called as withdrawal syndrome. So, withdrawal syndrome is the syndrome, basically, if when you start to de-addict a person, they'll suffer from nausea, they'll suffer from vomiting. Okay, and because the drugs that they were taking, they are discontinued. The body's needs are not being met. So the group of symptoms that they will be facing, it is like basically they'll start shaking, they'll start sweating a lot. They'll start going crazy. Once you stop their drug supply, but at that point of time, if you increase it again, they'll go back to normal. During the time when the person is suffering from the de-addiction thing, so they suffer from withdrawal syndrome. Clear?
Yes.
Then what the NCRT talks about, what are the signs for, like what are the warning signs, like if a youth is particularly, indulging in all these things. There is a drop in academic performance, there is unexplained absence from school, from colleges, the lack of interest in personal hygiene, withdrawal syndrome, isolation, depression, aggressiveness, rebellious behavior, then deteriorating relationship with family and friends, loss of interest in habits or hobbies, changing in sleeping pattern, eating patterns, and fluctuations of the weight and appetite. These are certain effects of the drugs that, like that indicate that a person or anyone is doing abusing drugs. But it doesn't mean that if a child is losing weight, then that is because of the drug. But these are the things that are taken. And obviously, if the drugs are taken intravenously, right, injecting into the veins, so that not only is just a warning sign for drug abuse, it's also a warning sign for getting bloodborne diseases like HIV, hepatitis. Those can also be caused in addition to those things. Right? So the viruses, those things can also be transferred, which are obviously fatal. So if a person is not dying because of overdosage of drugs, the person dies of diseases that it can be uh, caught with. Now, the use of alcohol during adolescence, it has long-term effects. It could lead to heavy drinking in adulthood. The chronic, meaning the long-term usage of alcohol, it damages the liver, nervous system, and it causes the disease cirrhosis. Okay. And obviously, if a female is pregnant and then she is using those things, so obviously it's going to affect the fetus also. No brainer. Now, and like mostly sports people, they use drugs to enhance their athletic performance, which is again, in many sports, they are like their blood tests are also done before they are sent to the sports program or anything, so that to understand that they are clean. Okay, the use of anabolic steroids. Steroids are the cholesterol derivative drugs. Okay, steroids. You might have heard that the people that train in gyms, they use steroids to build a bulkier body. So
Yes,
if a
ma'am.
female uses excessively the steroids, then it would cause male-like characters develop in female, like aggressiveness. Then excessive hair on the face, on the body, depression, abnormal menstrual cycle, enlargement of the clitoris, deepening of the voice. These are the effects that will be caused in the case of females. On the other hand, in the case of males, it will cause aggressiveness, reduction in the size of testicles, then liver dysfunction, kidney damage, depression, baldness, enlargement of the prostate gland. So obviously these effects could be permanent if the person continues to abuse the drug or alcohol. Clear? Now the last topic is basically the prevention and control. So what happens is here, like parents and teachers should monitor everyone, right? I should see whether or not you are doing drug abuse because I'm your teacher. So those things are to be done, right? Peer pressure is to be avoided. A safe environment has to be created. Then these things that are shown in televisions also, like in the TV shows and stuff, whenever they have to show any kind of person becoming a stud, they show them smoking, which is a bad thing, isn't it? So these things must not be promoted via television. Yeah, these things, that's only like awareness must be done, and at an early age, the kids should be made aware of the harmful effects of these things and to avoid them at all costs. Clear? Any
Ma'am,
doubt?
so like, ma'am, medicine also contain these type of content in
Morphine
the
is
nuts.
only medicine only.
So,
These
ma'am,
are all
excessive,
medicine.
those medicines only excessive could they cause the effects what drugs are causing? Like,
Hmm. Yes, that is why if a person has undergone any surgery, they are prescribed with a set amount of morphine for a set amount of days. After that, like I told you, they are said that okay, now this much pain you can bear. Initial pain after the surgery cannot be bared by any person. The pain of the stitches and stuff. So that is why painkiller morphine is given, but for a certain amount of days because they know that morphine addiction is real. It like the person will start depending upon that drug. Understood? That's what it is. So with this, we have completed human health and diseases. I will send you the PDF, both the PDF. Okay. The only thing is that, see, in the second PDF that I used to coach you with, there are few topics mentioned over there. So whatever you've written down, you compile them both and you make your notes that. Understood? Like the disorders of the immune system are there in the second notes and not in this one. So I'll share both these notes with you because see here, what I've done is like I have written as I taught. Okay. So
yes.
that is why they are very small and these are not the notes. but then the descriptive parts are below. Understood? So accordingly, like everything is there in both the PDF, so you can use accordingly. Okay. All right. So whenever we have the next class, we'll start with biotechnology chapter, and we'll see how it goes.
How
Okay.
many classes will that chapter require?
See if I'll okay, I'll see how many classes it will require. I have Tuesday with you, 16th and 18th. Two classes, I think it will be done. It will be completed in two
But
classes.
I don't think I can attend those because I'm preparing for physics.
See, I had asked you to try to attend your physics exam is on 21st, no?
Yes.
So the class will be on 18th. So up 19th, so you don't have any exam, no?
No.
And 17th also you don't have any exam.
No.
So Phil, you'll attend on 16th and please attend 16 and 18 classes. Don't miss it, okay? Because that way only I'll be able to complete. But others, I don't have any, like off time wherein I can give you any extra class. I don't have that time in my whole entire schedule. So please be present on 16th and 18th. Inshallah, the chapter will be completed. No.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So let's just keep it till here only. And we'll meet on 16th.